Hey, it's Demetrius Dugar here, and I got a special guest with me. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Jenny Mashik,
And who do you work for?
the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project.
And how long have you worked for Northwest?
Since 2008, so I just completed 18 years.
18 years. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And recently, my union teamed up with you guys because of the scams that are going on in the area and across the nation. What types of scams have you seen over the years?
Well, really, a lot of different things. So, in immigration law, people are particularly vulnerable to being taken advantage of, and that could be because of language barriers or because of unfamiliarity with the legal systems or distrust of systems in general. So, in the past, what we saw was a lot of people who were purporting to help immigrants who maybe were non lawyers. There were people in the community, and there still are, who are notary publics, but they would use the Spanish term notario to advertise their services and would perform certain immigration related services, even though they were not licensed attorneys. And so they would essentially be practicing law without a license, and they had a lot of negative impacts on people's immigration status, and people might have lost a lot of money over the years. So there have been efforts made by different states, including Washington, to crack down on the notario fraud. But what we've seen more recently is that there are actual licensed attorneys who have been, some would say, running fraudulent scams. I would say pushing the boundaries of the rules of ethics that all of us attorneys are bound by.
Okay. And how do these type of scams hurt the victims and their clients that come to you?
Yeah, so we, I don't know if you're probably gonna have a question about this, but we've recently learned a lot about what's happening in our community here in Washington with an attorney who was a former attorney, I should say, named Alexandra Lozano, who resigned from the Washington State Bar Association in lieu of discipline. That meant that there were complaints filed against her that the bar was going to investigate, but she resigned before admitting wrongdoing or going through a full investigation. At the time of her resignation, she had 35,000 clients pending, which is pretty astonishing for a solo practitioner, and 54,000 applications pending before U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Why this has hurt my office particularly hard, or my unit, I specialize in working with immigrants who are survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and the cases she was filing were very specialized. One of them was called a self-petition under the Violence Against Women Act for people who have an abusive U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident family member. And the other kind of case she was filing widely were T visas for people who are survivors of human trafficking, labor or sex trafficking. So not only are the clients that she filed for kind of in limbo now, it has also affected the processing of how other cases are being adjudicated and reviewed by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So, for example, we file a lot of T visas for trafficking survivors. Many people have been in active trafficking situations, and because of the Lozano case and others like her, immigration under this administration has basically just said, well, all these cases are fraudulent, so we're going to look at them with a much harsher lens, much more scrutiny. And so that's what we're really seeing in the kind of cases that my office in particular files. They're getting a lot more scrutiny, and we're not getting cases actually even adjudicated. So they just came out with numbers today for the T visas. They're supposed to adjudicate up to 5,000 T visas per year. That's how much was allotted when the visa was created in 2000. But this year they've only adjudicated fewer than 200 visas. So basically it's kind of at a standstill, and they have a backlog of over 71,000 now. So that's really detrimental to everyone who's trying to get immigration relief, and particularly these people who are in the most vulnerable position.
Oh my goodness. And what are ways, how can people identify a potential scam to the people watching this?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, because the reason this, I would say, fraud went on for so long was because, if it's a licensed attorney, doing something, then people like automatically trust them. They think like, oh, they've jumped through all these hoops, they must be respected in the community. My sort of rule of thumb to people is if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So if there's an attorney who promises that they can do a miracle for you, which is something the Lozano firm said, or they say something along the lines of, oh, I can get a result for you that no other attorney can, or I have certain ways of making things happen that other attorneys can't, that's not very credible, because especially in the area of immigration law, all of us attorneys are bound by the same laws and we're trying to pursue relief in the same way. So someone couldn't just come in and say, oh yes, I have this magic wand to make it happen. That would not be a credible, credible claim. So if someone feels unsure about something, we always tell people, if you can afford to see an attorney, a private attorney, obviously we're a nonprofit at NERP, but our services are very limited because we're in such high demand all the time. It's not a bad idea to get at least like 2 consultations, or at least get 2 opinions if you haven't hired anyone yet. That's what I would recommend to people. And again, if it sounds too good to be true, it might be too good to be true.
And with these scams, you mentioned earlier about people losing money. So how much money do you think these people are losing, the low end and the high end?
I can only report on like what I've heard through like media reports, but I believe people were paying anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 for these kind of cases, particularly to the Lozano firm. Lawyers can charge whatever they want, like in the private bar. It just depends on what you're expecting in return for your money. And many of these people have cases that are still just pending or have been denied because they used an electronic signature instead of like a wet ink signature. So things like that are hurting their case after they've already spent all this money.
Now, how can the community help solve these issues?
That's a great question. I think awareness is like the first step. So like, this, like getting the word out, that's what we've been trying to do. That's what different groups have been trying to do, especially with the fallout of the Lozano case. The American Immigration Lawyers Association has been active in Washington trying to help those clients. I think, if you hear of someone who maybe went through this and is like uncertain about their future, maybe you can urge them to get the most important thing people should do now is make sure they have a copy of like their full files of what was filed, and that they get a consultation with someone who's a reputable immigration attorney that can actually review it. So I think just awareness right now is the most important thing. And then directing people, if they want to file complaints, like trying to channel them to the appropriate locations to do that.
So people watching this could either been victims or know someone who's been a victim. So if somebody watching this like, oh crap, that was my lawyer, what do you suggest that they do right now?
The most important thing that people can do right now is just make sure their address is updated with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and there are certain procedures you have to follow to do that, to make sure it's updated. But if the firm was receiving mail instead of them, and the firm no longer exists, then they don't have a way to get important notices from immigration. So first thing is to make sure their address is updated. Second thing is make sure they have a copy of everything that was filed with immigration, and that they try to schedule an appointment with someone who's reputable, who can give them advice on their particular situation. So many of these situations are very individualized and particular that it's hard to give blanket advice to people. They really need to get individualized advice.
And now, one last thing, because we talked off camera, Mega Mass hearings.
Mega Masters, yeah.
Mega Masters. Those are not new, but right now they're in the news right now. So why are people hearing about Mega Masters right now? Because even on the podcast I listen to, Strict Scrutiny, when they talk about the Supreme Court and all this stuff, it came up in their discussion, and they spent the whole 20-30 minutes talking about it. So it's definitely something that caught the attention of the people. Why is that?
It's a sort of a ramping up approach by this administration to increase the numbers of people that are in proceedings and that are essentially being ordered removed. When I mentioned to you, I said I feel like we had seen sort of a version of it before in the detained context, because if you go to the detention center in Tacoma and you watch, they've kind of done it like that before, where they have everyone stand up and give them their rights at the same time, but then they still go through one by one and figure out I don't know what to call it, a plan for each person or a schedule for each person of when their individual hearing is going to be. But this is essentially an attempt now in the non-detained context to just move more people kind of along, I don't know what to call it, the assembly line of just trying to move more people towards deportation. So they're just trying to ramp up every aspect of immigration enforcement.
Crazy, and it's definitely keeping you guys busy. Jenny,
Very busy.
Jenny, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
me.
It's a pleasure.
All right, you heard it. Have a good one now.